School of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course Mmpc 008 Information Systems for Managers for MBA program. Block 3 System Analysis and Computer Languages. Unit 9 Building Information Systems. Part 1.
Introduction. An information system is a set of people, procedures, and resources that collects, transforms, and disseminates information in an organization. In the world over, today's end users rely on many types of information systems, IS. Automation has penetrated everywhere and in every field of life. In this unit, we will concentrate on computer-based information systems that use hardware, software, communication technology, and other forms of information technology, IT, to transform data resources into a variety of information products. 4 kinds of organizational changes are enabled by information systems. These are automation, rationalization, re-engineering, and paradigm shift. When an organization does not use its internal resources to build and operate information system, it takes help of other organizations to provide these services. This is called outsourcing. There are advantages and disadvantages of using outsourcing. Quality programs differ greatly from company to company. Some are merely generalized sales campaigns intended to sensitize employees to the need to strive for more quality in their daily work. At the opposite extreme, quality programs can result in fundamental changes in the way a company does its business. Companies also follow different routes in achieving quality. Whatever route a company selects, the more it tries to achieve with its quality programs, the more information systems can contribute to the success of those programs. Objectives. After reading this unit, you should be able to identify different types of information systems, explain the impact of information system on doing business, describe about planned organizational change, understand the business value of information system, enumerate the advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing information system, and discuss how IS can be used to ensure quality. Computer-based information system and its classification. A computer-based information system uses the resources of people, hardware, and software to perform input, processing, output, storage, and control activities that convert data resources into information products. Before going into the details of computer-based information system, let us first discuss about a system. A system is a group of interrelated components working together towards a common goal by accepting inputs and producing outputs through an organized transformation process. Such a system, sometimes called a dynamic system, has 3 basic interactive components or functions. Input involves capturing and assembling elements that enter the system to be processed. For example, raw materials, energy, data, and human effort must be secured and organized for processing. Processing involves transformation processes that convert input into output. Examples are a manufacturing process or mathematical calculations. Output involves transferring elements that have been produced by a transformation process to their ultimate destination. For example, finished products, human services, and management information must be transmitted to their human users. The system's concept can be made even more useful by including two additional components, feedback and control. A system with feedback and control components is sometimes called a cybernetic system, that is, a self-monitoring, self-regulating system. Feedback is data about the performance of a system. For example, data about sales performance is feedback to a sales manager. Control involves monitoring and evaluating feedback to determine whether a system is moving towards the achievement of its goal. The control function then makes necessary adjustments to a system's input and processing components to ensure that it produces proper output. For example, a sales manager exercises control when he or she reassigns salespersons to new territories after evaluating feedback about their sales performance. This information system model highlights the relationships among the components and activities of information system. It provides a framework that emphasizes four major concepts that can be applied to all types of information system. People, hardware, software, and data are the four basic resources of information system. People resources include end users and IS specialists. Hardware resources consists of machine and media. Software resources include both program and procedures, and data resources can include data, model, and knowledge base. Data resources are transformed by information processing activities into a variety of information products for end users. Information processing consists of input, processing, output, storage, and control activities. There are many kinds of information systems in the real world. All of them use hardware, software, and people resources to transform data resources into information products. It is important not to confuse information systems with the concept of computer systems. A computer system is a group of interconnected hardware components that may take the form of a microcomputer, mini-computer, or large mainframe computer system. However, whether it sits on a desk or is one of many computers in the internet or intranet network, a computer system still represents only the hardware resources component of a computer-based information system. As we have just seen, an information system also consists of people, software, and data resources. Types of information system. Although people often think of information systems as tools for decision making, each type of information system supports both communication and decision making in a number of ways. Office automation systems. An office automation system, OAS, facilitates everyday information processing tasks in offices and business organizations. These systems include a wide range of tools such as spreadsheets, word processors, and presentation packages. Although telephones, email, Vmail, and social media can be included in this category, we will treat communication systems as a separate category. OASs help people perform personal record keeping, writing, and calculation chores efficiently. Of all the system types, OASs and communication systems are the most familiar to students. Tools generally grouped within the OAS category include: spreadsheets are an efficient method for performing calculations that can be visualized in terms of the cells of a spreadsheet. Although spreadsheet programs seem second nature today, the first spreadsheet program was VCalc, which helped create the demand for the first personal computers in the late 1970s. Text and image processing systems store, revise, and print documents containing text or image data. These systems started with simple word processor but have evolved to include desktop publishing systems for creating complex documents ranging from brochures to book chapters. Presentation packages help managers develop presentations independently. Instead of working with typists and technical artists, these products automatically convert outlines into printed pages containing appropriately spaced titles and subtitles. These pages can be copied directly onto transparencies or slides used in presentations. Personal database systems and note-taking systems help people keep track of their own personal data. Typical applications include an appointment book and calendar, a to-do list, and a notepad. When using these tools for personal productivity purposes, users can apply any approach they want because the work is unstructured. In these situations, some individuals use them extensively and enjoy major efficiency benefits, whereas others do not use them at all. The same tools can be also used for broader purposes, however, in which they are incorporated into larger systems that organizations use to structure and routinize tasks. For example, a corporate planning system may require each department manager to fill in and forward a pre-formatted spreadsheet whose uniformity will facilitate the corporation's planning process. Communication systems. Electronic communication systems help people work together by exchanging or sharing information in many different forms. Every day we come across a lot of communications through social media such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. New communication capabilities have changed the way many businesses operate by making it possible to do many things at a distance that previously required being present in a specific location. This section groups these tools into 4 general categories. Teleconferencing system makes it possible to hold same time, different place meetings. Messaging systems make it possible to transmit specific messages to specific individuals or groups of individuals. Groupware systems start with messaging but go further by facilitating access to documents and controlling team-related workflow. Knowledge management systems facilitate the sharing of knowledge rather than just information. Teleconferencing. The use of electronic transmission to permit same-time, different place meetings is called teleconferencing. We can think of a traditional telephone call as a minimal teleconference, but the term is normally applied to other options including audio conferencing, audiographic conferencing, and video conferencing. The distinction between these approaches is related to the type of information that is shared. Audio conferencing is a single telephone call involving 3 or more people participating from at least 2 locations. If several people on the call are in the same office, they can participate using a speakerphone, which includes a high sensitivity microphone and a loudspeaker that can be heard by anyone in a room. Audiographic conferencing is an extension of audio conferencing, permitting dispersed participants to see pictures or graphical materials at the same time. This is especially useful when the purpose of the meeting is to share information that is difficult to describe, organize, or visualize, such as a spreadsheet or model used to perform calculations under different assumptions. Video conferencing is an interactive meeting involving 2 or more groups of people who can see each other using television screens. The least expensive forms of video conferencing are tiny cameras and 4-inch screens add to telephones or separate video conferencing windows displayed on computer screens. In typical business video conferencing, remote participants appear on a television screen. Video conferencing simulates a face-to-face meeting without requiring unnecessary travel, which absorbs time and energy, not to speak of the cost of airplane and hotel bills. However, the effectiveness of video conferences decreases if the participants lack a prior social bond. For example, doing sales call via video conferencing might seem tempting, but might not foster the personal relationship needed to succeed in many sales situations. On the other hand, many banks have begun to experiment with stripped-down branch offices that have no tellers but permit customers to open accounts by video conferencing with multilingual staffers in another state. This is happening in other fields too, like getting driving licenses and similar business activities through online portals and apps. Messaging systems. Different time, different place communication has been used for centuries in the form of books and letters. Messaging systems make it possible to transmit specific messages to specific individuals or groups of individuals. They use technologies such as electronic mail, voicemail, and fax to make different time, different place communication more effective. The use of computers to send and retrieve text messages or document addressed to individual people or locations is called electronic mail. Email. Each user is identified by is usually based on the person's name and also serves as the person's email address. The sender uses a word processor to create a message and then addresses it to a distribution list. The distribution list might be an individual account name or a group of names, such as those for the sales department or everyone working on a particular project. The recipient can read the message immediately or can wait until it is convenient. The recipient email message can save it, print it, erase it, or forward it to someone else. The third recipient can also edit the message to extract parts to be saved, printed, or passed on. Email is effective in many situations, such as permitting you to leave a message without going through an additional person who might garble it. With email, you can send a message to a person traveling away from the office who can log on to a network using a laptop computer. If you are working on a memo or other document and want to get feedback from someone before you distribute it, you can use email to send it to the person for a quick response. Email also allows you to send the same message to many individuals without having to contact them individually. For example, a product designer can respond with a good idea. The minimal effort of distributing the request is worth it. There have been many innovative uses of email to improve communication. People in large organizations have used it to bypass bureaucratic structures. For example, top managers sometimes bypass intermediate management levels by obtaining specific information directly from people throughout the organization. Some organizations have replaced the majority of their formal memos with informal email that gets to the point directly. Email removes accents and permits non-fluent speakers to read a message several times that otherwise might be misunderstood in a phone conversation. It also helps them express their ideas more effectively than they might by using a telephone. Groupware. Groupware helps teams work together by sharing information and by controlling internal workflows. Coined in the late 1980s, the term groupware has attained wide recognition due to the increasing need for groups to work together more effectively at a distance as a result of downsizing and rapid organizational change. Products viewed as groupware are still new enough that their long-term direction is unclear, even though the competitive need to work effectively in dispersed teams is greater than ever. This is being used in all fields like education, hospitals, agriculture, industries, offices, etc. Groupware goes beyond messaging by facilitating access to documents and controlling team-related workflow. Many groupware products are related to specific group-related tasks, such as project management, scheduling meetings, and retrieving data from shared databases. Lotus Notes, a prominent product in this category, is designed for sharing text and images and contains a data structure that is a cross between a table-oriented database and an outline. For example, a law firm in Seattle uses Lotus Notes to permit everyone working on a particular case to have access to the most current memos and other information about that case, even if they are traveling. Other companies use Lotus Notes to store and revise product information for salespeople selling industrial products, thereby replacing the massive 3-ring binders they formerly lugged around. In similar way, many such products are available today with Google and other prominent IT service providers. Yet, another groupware functions are performed through computer conferencing, the exchange of text messages typed into computers from various locations to discuss a particular issue. When done through the internet, this is sometimes called a newsgroup. A computer conference permits people in dispersed locations to combine their ideas in useful ways, even though they cannot speak to each other face to face. Any conference participant may be able to add new ideas, attach comments to existing messages, or direct comments to specific individuals or groups. Proponents of computer conferencing recognize some disadvantages or working through computers but emphasize major advantages such as preventing a single forceful individual from dominating a meeting. Also, because everything is done through a computer, a record of how ideas developed is automatically generated. A different type of groupware product focuses primarily on the flow of work in office settings. These products provide tools for structuring the process by which information for a particular multi-step task is managed, transferred, and routed. A typical example is the approval of travel expenditure. In this case, one person must propose the expenditure and someone else must approve it. The workflow application is set up to make the approval process simple and complete. In effect, groupware is being used as a small transaction processing system for multi-step transaction. Intranets and extranets. The widespread use of the World Wide Web has led many firms to apply the information sharing concepts of groupware on a much larger scale by creating an additional type of communication system, intranets and extranets. Intranets are private communication networks that use the type of interface popularized by the web but are accessible only by authorized employees, contractors, and customers. They are typically used to communicate non-sensitive but broadly useful information such as recent corporate news, general product information, employee manuals, corporate policies, telephone directories, details of health insurance, and other employee benefits and calendars. In some cases, employees can use intranets to other benefits. Once security issues are addressed adequately, intranets for accessing general-purpose corporate data may lead to widespread use of intranets as a front end to transaction processing systems and management information systems described in the following sections. Extranets are private networks that operate similarly to intranets but are directed at customers rather than at employees. Extranets provide information customers need, such as detailed product descriptions, frequently asked questions about different products, maintenance information, warranties, and how to contact customer service and sales offices. Much of this information was formerly difficult for customers to access because paper versions of it at the customer site became scattered and outdated. By using extranets, companies are making this type of information increasingly available at a single interactive site that is easy to navigate. Knowledge management. A final type of communication system is very different from systems that support real-time communication or provide access to information. Today's leading businesses are increasingly aware that their employees' knowledge is one of their primary assets. In consulting companies and other organizations that rely heavily on unique competencies and methods, knowledge has more competitive significance than physical assets because the physical assets can be replaced or replenished more easily. Knowledge management systems are communication systems designed to facilitate the sharing of knowledge rather than just information. As with groupware, the idea of knowledge management is still emerging and is applied in many different ways in different firms. The computer applications underlying knowledge management systems are often built on technologies such as intranets, electronic mail, groupware, databases, and search engines. Functions supported by these technologies include codifying knowledge, organizing it in repositories for later access, finding knowledge, and providing organized ways to find people who have needed knowledge. The human element is paramount in knowledge management. The companies with the best results to date stitch technologies together into a system that operates effectively and that is genuinely supported by the culture. For example, employee reviews in many consulting companies give significant weight to demonstrated contribution to internal knowledge management systems. This type of recognition is especially important if the firm's culture otherwise encourages hoarding of knowledge for personal advancement. In many cases, the most effective use of knowledge requires involvement of the person who is the expert. When a British petroleum drilling ship in the North Sea encountered an equipment failure, it put the equipment in front of a video camera and used a satellite link to contact a drilling expert in Scotland. His rapid diagnosis of the problem prevented delays and a possible shutdown. Transaction Processing Systems. A transaction processing system, TPS, collects and stores data about transactions and sometimes controls decisions made as part of a transaction. A transaction is a business event that generates or modifies data stored in an information system. TPSs were the first computerized information systems. We encounter computerized TPSs frequently, including every time we write a check, use a credit card, or pay a bill sent by a company. A TPS used to record a sale and generate a receipt is primarily concerned with collecting and storing data. If the TPS validates a credit card or helps a clerk determine whether to accept a personal check, it also controls decision made within the transaction. TPSs are designed based on detailed specifications for how the transaction should be performed and how to control the collection of specific data in specific data formats and in accordance with rules, policies, and goals of the organization. Most contain enough structure to enforce rules and procedures for work done by clerks or customer service agents. Some TPSs automate deposits and cash withdrawals. A well-designed TPS checks each transaction for easily detectable errors such as missing data, data values that are obviously too high or too low, data values that are inconsistent with other data in the database, and data in the wrong format. It may check for required authorizations for the transaction. Certain TPSs, such as airline reservation system, may automate decision-making functions such as finding the flight that best meets the customer's needs. Finally, when all the information for the transaction has been collected and validated, the TPS stores it in a standard format for later access by others. As anyone knows who has tried to make a reservation when a computerized reservation system is down, organizations rely heavily on their TPSs. Breakdowns disrupt operations and may even bring business to a complete halt. As a result, a well-designed TPS has backup and recovery procedures that minimize disruptions resulting from computer outages. Batch versus real-time processing. The two types of transaction processing are batch and real-time processing. With batch processing, information for individual transaction is gathered and stored, but isn't processed immediately. Later, either on a schedule or when a sufficient number of transactions have accumulated, the transactions are processed to update the database. With real-time processing, each transaction is processed immediately. The person providing the information is typically available to help with error correction and receives a confirmation of transaction completion. Batch processing was the only feasible form of transaction processing when data was stored only on punched cards or tapes. Real-time transaction processing requires immediate access to an online database. Batch processing is currently used in some situation where the transaction data comes in on paper, such as in processing checks and airline ticket stubs. A batch approach is also used for generating paychecks and other forms of paper output that will be distributed after a delay. Unfortunately, time delays inherent in batch processing may cause significant disadvantages. The central database may never be completely current because of transactions received while the batch was being processed. Worse yet, batching the transaction creates built-in delays, with transactions not completed until the next day in some cases. Even systems with interactive user interfaces may include lengthy delays before transactions are completed. For example, weekend deposits into many ATMs are not posted to the depositor's account until Monday. Even though the ATM's user interface is interactive, the system in a large sense doesn't perform real-time processing. Compared to batch processing, real-time processing has more stringent requirements for computer response and computer uptime. As is obvious, when a travel agent says, "Sorry, the computer is down," the jobs and work methods of the people in the real-time TPS are designed under the assumption that the system will be up and available. Enterprise Information Systems. Many firms have tried to take transaction processing to a higher level by creating enterprise information systems that encompass the transaction processing done in the various functional silos. The idea of these efforts is to create unified databases that permit any authorized individual to obtain whatever information would be helpful in making decisions across the organization. In theory at least, having all this information in a unified database should improve decision making. Enterprise information systems are quite controversial because the effort to create them is enormous. They involve much more than changing the format of databases. Often, it is necessary to change business processes to suit the needs of the information system instead of vice versa. Nonetheless, many organizations have found that the integration resulting from this large investment seems to be worthwhile. The last part of this discussion explains why these information systems are usually called Enterprise Resource Planning (ERP) systems, even though planning is not their main focus. Management and Executive Information Systems. A Management Information System (MIS) provides information for an organization's managers. The idea of MIS predates the computer age. For example, as long ago as the middle 1500s, the Fogger family in Augsburg, Germany, had business interests throughout Europe and even to China and Peru. To keep in touch, they set up a worldwide news reporting service through which their agents wrote letters about critical political and economic events in their areas of responsibility. These letters were collected, interpreted, analyzed, and summarized in Augsburg and answered through instructions sent to the family's agents. This paper-based system encompassing planning, execution, and control helped the family move more rapidly in the mercantile world than their rivals. Instructions went out to the agents executed their work, and the agents reported their results. Computerized MIS generates information for monitoring performance, maintaining coordination, and providing background information about the organization's operation. Users include both managers and the employees who receive feedback about performance indicators such as productivity. The concept of MIS emerged partly as a response to the shortcomings of the first computerized TPSs, which often improved transaction processing but provided little information for management. Computerized MISs typically extract and summarize data from TPSs to allow managers to monitor and direct the organization and to provide employees accurate feedback about easily measured aspects of their work. For example, a listing of every sale during a day or week would be extremely difficult to use in monitoring a hardware store's performance. However, the same data could be summarized in measures of performance such as total sales for each type of item, for each salesperson, and for each hour of the day. The transaction data remains indispensable, and the MIS focuses it for management. As part of an organization's formal control mechanisms, an MIS provides some structure for the comparatively unstructured task of management by identifying important measures of performance. The fact that everyone knows how performance is measured helps in making decisions and helps manager motivate workers. From MIS to EIS. An Executive Information System, EIS, is a highly interactive system that provides managers and executives flexible access to information for monitoring operating results and general business conditions. These systems are sometimes called Executive Support System, ESS. EIS attempts to take over where the traditional MIS approach falls short. Although sometimes acceptable for monitoring the same indicators over time, the traditional MIS approach for providing pre-specified reports on a scheduled basis is too inflexible for many questions executives really care about, such as understanding problems and new situations. EISs provide executives with internal and competitive information through user-friendly interfaces that can be used by someone with little computer-related knowledge. EISs are designed to help executives find the information they need whenever they need it and in whatever form is most useful. Typically, users can choose among numerous tabular or graphical formats. They can also control the level of detail, the triggers for exception conditions, and other aspects of the information displayed. Most EISs focus on providing executives with the background information they need as well as help in understanding the causes of exceptions and surprises. This leaves executives better prepared to discuss issues with their subordinates. Decision Support Systems. A Decision Support System, DSS, is an interactive information system that provides information, models, and data manipulation tools to help make decisions in semi-structured and unstructured situations where no one knows exactly how the decision should be made. The traditional DSS approach includes interactive problem-solving direct use of models and user-controllable methods for displaying and analyzing data and in formulating and evaluating alternative decisions. This approach grew out of dissatisfaction with the traditional limitations of TPS and MIS. TPS focused on record keeping and control of repetitive clerical processes. MIS provided reports for management but were often inflexible and unable to produce the information in a form in which managers could use it effectively. In contrast, DSS were intended to support managers and professionals doing largely analytical work in less structured situations with unclear criteria for success. DSSs are typically designed to solve the structured parts of the problem and help isolate places where judgment and experience are required. DSSs may report repetitive or non-repetitive decision-making. They support repetitive decision-making by defining procedures and formats, but they still permit the users to decide how and when to use the system's capabilities. They support non-repetitive decision-making by providing data, models, and interface methods that can be used however the user wants. The broad spectrum of information systems with the DSS label range from general tools such as spreadsheets, data analysis, and graphics packages to highly customized simulation or optimization models focusing on a specific business situation. OLAP and data mining. The use of online data analysis tools to explore large databases of transaction data is called Online Analytical Processing, OLAP. The idea of OLAP grew out of difficulties analyzing the data in databases that were being updated continually by online transaction processing systems. When the analytical processes accessed large slices of transaction database, they slowed down transaction processing critical to customer relationships. The salutation was periodic downloads of data from the active transaction processing database into a separate database designed specifically to support analysis work. The separate database often resides on a different computer, which together with its specialized software is called a data warehouse. Downloading data to a data warehouse makes it possible to perform both transaction processing and analytical processing efficiently without mutual interference. Data mining is the use of data analysis tools to try to find the pattern in large transaction databases, such as the computer receipts generated in a large sample of grocery stores across the United States. Careful analysis of this data might reveal patterns that could be used for marketing promotions, such as a correlation between diaper sales and beer sales during the evening hours. Execution systems. The information system categories discussed so far are primarily oriented towards planning and control activities or towards general office and communication activities. What about systems designed to directly support people doing the value-added work that customers care about, such as practicing medicine, designing buildings, or selling investments? Some people call these systems functional area systems. Because there is no generally accepted term for information systems that support value-added work, we will call them execution systems. These systems have become much more important in the last decade as advances in computer speed, memory capacity, and portability made it increasingly possible to use computerized systems directly while doing value-added work. Such systems help plastic surgeons design operation and show the likely results to their patients, help lawyers find precedents relevant to lawsuits, and help maintenance engineers keep machines running. Expert systems are a type of execution system that has received attention as an offshoot of artificial intelligence research. An expert system supports the intellectual work of professionals engaged in design, diagnosis, or evaluation of complex situations requiring expert knowledge in a well-defined area. Expert systems have been used to diagnose diseases, configure computers, analyze chemicals, interpret geological data, and support many other problem-solving processes. This type of work requires expert knowledge of the process of performing particular tasks. Although these tasks may have some repetitive elements, many situations have unique characteristics that must be considered based on expert knowledge. Intellectual work, even in narrowly defined areas, is typically much less repetitive than transaction processing general office work. Going beyond the information system categories. The field of IT moves so rapidly that terminology often fails to keep pace with innovation. The same problem occurs with information system classification. People identify a new type of system, such as DSS or EIS, and describe its characteristics are no longer as important or have become commonplace. Eventually, many information systems contain characteristics from several system categories. Furthermore, a system that fits in a category today may not fit once new features are added. Information systems that contain characteristics or several different categories can be called hybrid information systems. In the mid-1990s, the widespread adoption of a form of hybrid information system called an Enterprise Resource Planning (ERP) system became highly visible and somewhat controversial. As with many IT terms, the term ERP evolved out of an early form of DSS called Material Requirements Planning (MRP). These systems provide an integrated view necessary to coordinate purchasing and production scheduling activities. ERP systems try to create an integrated database that spans the major activities in a company. Ideally, having production, sales, human resources, and finances data in the same database should make it easier to analyze the business and to coordinate decision-making. Software vendors such as SAP, Microsoft, Oracle, and other such popular IT service providers currently sell ERP software. These facilities are also available today through web-in-cloud technology. These vendors analyze basic business processes such as purchasing and of the process variations they found. This design strategy makes their products enormously complicated. Just figuring out which of the many options to use often takes several hundred persons, months of time. In many situations, departments must give up existing customized systems that address their unique problems in order to use the more general software and its integrated database.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program, course code Mmpc 008, Information Systems for Managers. Course Coordinator, Professor Anurag Saxena, School of Management Studies, IGNOU. Voiceover by Renuka. Edited by Ruchi Sharma. Program assisted by Jagbandhu Jana. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.